Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Hope you're doing well, and today we're going to be doing the Are You Like Jane Austen book tag. Now this was created by the lovely Shelley Swearingen, so I will leave a link to her original video down below so you guys can go watch it first. Yes, so now I love me some Jane Austen. I love period dramas, period, yeah. Now I know what you're all thinking, which is my preferred Mr. Darcy, Firth or Macfadyen. Now, I love me some Firth, but Matthew Macfadyen as Mr. Darcy is my OG. Like, I love Colin Firth, I love his performance, but Matthew just kills that performance for me. He just nails it. So, the way that this tag is going to work is there is a set of 10 prompts and a point system. So, essentially each prompt will give you a certain amount of points, and at the end we tally that up and we see how similar we are to Jane Austen. Now, I like to think I'm a little bit like her in a way. I love me books. I love just everything about books. So it'd be quite interesting to see how well I do in this quiz. So let's get started. So I've got my prompts here. I had to print this out because it's a bit easier than trying to remember these off. So the first one is, Jane Austen was an artist and writer. Give yourself a point if you're an artist and give yourself an extra point if you are a writer. Now, not off to the best of start. I don't really write that much. Really, there's a lot of people out there who probably do a better job than me. And if you count stick people drawing talent, which I don't, yeah, so I can't really give myself too many points there. There's a lot more talented people out there than me. So, unfortunately, no, I can't reward myself any points for that one. Okay, so prompt number 2 is, Austen was born to a large family. She had a total of 7 siblings. Holy shit, that's more than I've got. 1 sister and 6 brothers. Give yourself a point if you have 3 or more siblings in your family. Now, again, we're not off to the best start. I am indeed the only child in my family. I do not have any brothers and sisters, which is a good thing in many ways. It also means I couldn't blame anyone for the shit that I did. But yes, no, I do enjoy being an only child. You do have a lot more freedom, but yes, unfortunately I don't have any brothers or sisters. Would have liked to, but I'm quite happy being an only child as well. Alright, so prompt number 3 is, Austen did not enjoy her formal education. Give yourself a point if you did not care for school. Okay, so I enjoyed school for the most part. The education part, not so much. We do have a bit of a running joke in my household that both me and my father only went to school for the bus ride. Take that statement as you will, but yes, school, formal, I did enjoy some classes, some more than others, but I wasn't overly keen on school as a whole. I went because we had to. I did whatever I needed to, but as for any extracurricular stuff, I didn't do a whole lot. In high school I did a bit more, but yes, formal education wasn't really my style, so I'm going to give myself a point for that because yes, I didn't enjoy school for the educational purposes. Like I said, there's a running joke in my family that my dad and I went for the bus ride, so take that what you will. Okay, so prompt number 5 is, Jane broke off 2 engagements and died a spinster. Is that trying to tell me something? Never mind. Give yourself a point if you were single. Single as a Pringle. That's as far as I go into that. Yes, I am single at the moment, so I definitely relate to Jane a lot in that way. I don't date too often. I have gone on occasional dates, but I've never been... I've had real bad taste in men sometimes too, but we won't go into that. But yes, single as a Pringle. So prompt number 6 is, Austen experienced low point periods of spells of depression. Give yourself a point if you struggle with mental health. Now, this is one that definitely I did struggle with, especially in primary school. I was one of those kids who wasn't really great at making friends, especially because a lot of the cousins in my generation are older than me. So the next cousin eldest cousin after me, there's about a 10-year age gap between us. So that means I didn't spend a lot of time around kids my own age. And growing up on a farm as well meant that we were quite isolated. So I didn't really have too much interactions with kids my own age. I did once I went to primary school, those levels of schooling, but being a shy child, I was never really great at that. So for a long time, I didn't have a lot of proper friends because a lot of them were really people who just used me for things that weren't really great. Probably the best way I could describe how I felt at some point was through... There was a line in the Pink song, Don't Let Me Get Me, that pretty much summed it up to a nutshell, my feelings, and that was essentially the line of, I don't want to be my own friend anymore, I want to be someone else. So that was essentially my feelings for a long time. I especially felt like, because a lot of people sort of just ripped me off as weird for whatever reason that was, I felt, okay, what's wrong with me? What have I done wrong? Essentially. So yeah, that did make me quite depressed for a long time. It's not something that... It did affect me to some extent, but I have a family who loves me very much, and looking back on it now, it's something that whilst it was painful, I am quite grateful for. I have real friends now that I wouldn't have had back in primary school, and so that's probably where I've really struggled with more self-acceptance than anything else, is essentially those years were pretty much me thinking, well, no one likes me, what's wrong with me, essentially. But it's a lot better now. I still definitely have some of those moments where I think, oh my god, why do people even like me? But it's not as bad as it used to be. So that is something I am quite grateful for. Okay, prompt number 7 is, Jane moved away from her childhood home in her 20s. Give yourself a point if you've lived away from your childhood hometown or region. So back in, what year was it, 2013, I went to uni to do a degree in business management. So that was from 2013 to 2015. I had to move, but it was only about an hour's drive away from where I lived at the time, but at the time that was the best option for me. Like, I was still very close to home, but it was easier to move out and into their accommodation because essentially work was probably, before I moved, it was about a 50-minute drive, and it was a 50-minute to about an hour's drive from where I lived to the uni as well. So it was a lot easier to essentially live on the campus, then go about 10 minutes drive to work, and then live there. So I have lived away from home did live away from home for about 2.5 years before I moved back home, not long after we moved into our current place. I still am currently living at home, but I do pay my own way, so I pay for pretty much everything that I own, so books, my car, phone bill and that, and I do contribute to the upkeep of the house. So I don't live entirely scot-free, and that's the way I do like it. So yes, I have lived away from home before, and I would like to eventually move down to Victoria at some stage, but we shall see what happens with the restrictions and that, but that is the plan one day. Okay, so prompt number 8 is, Jane was not vain, and give yourself a point if you have very little interest in vanity. So, yes, I do. I have very little interest in a lot of, especially a lot of trends now with like the Kardashian phase, where you see, all these people who are essentially getting on a lot of these reality shows like Love Island, Married at First Sight, to essentially become famous, and because, it's something that I like to call the people who peaked in high school, people who just really think that either they're better than everyone else, or their looks are all they think really matters, and that's the only way they're going to get ahead in life. I've never been about that. I think that, yes, you can be good looking and still be successful, but just using the fact that you are good looking and sort of you think you're the hottest the hottest thing to ever hit the earth. It's never been my thing. I've always tried to treat people the same way I would like to be treated, and I have no interest in being the most popular person on the planet. No, none of that shit. That shit does not interest me at all. So, yes, I don't have time for people who are horrible, vain, think nothing of no one else but themselves. So, yes, I have very, very little interest in people who are very vain. Okay, so prompt number 9 is hair was of little concern to Austin. Give yourself a point if you cannot be bothered with your hair. Okay, so this is my hair always pretty much naturally as it is. I do like to straighten it every so often. I only washed it last night as I'm filming this, so as you can see it's probably a bit untamable, but I do straighten it, but very rarely do I sort of care about the upkeep of it. I do brush my hair every day, but sometimes I just can't be bothered, so yeah, I really don't give too much of a shit about how my hair looks most days. I will tie it back obviously when I go to work, because I am in quite a physically demanding job, so, and I'm essentially walking back and forth a lot of the time, so, and because my hair is quite naturally thick, it does tend to get quite hot behind here, especially in summer. So yes, I'm not someone who gives a great deal about my hair. I do like to colour it and have that pampering every maybe couple of months, but it's not something that I constantly obsess with 24/7. Okay, and the last one is Austin expressed her distaste for hot weather. Give yourself a point if you dislike the heat. Absolutely. I hate Australian summers. Currently we are in summer at the moment here in Australia, so I live in Queensland. If anyone who has lived in Queensland knows, it does get quite warm. The humidity is disgusting. It is horrible. So, that is quite often why I do like to tie my hair back as well, because it gets hot. It gets really warm. So yeah, I have to tie this back because it does get very, very hot, and I do not like it. And as I am filming this, I do have my air conditioner on, so yes, it gets quite hot. It does, and I don't like it. I don't mind summer in general, but the heat is what really kills me. Okay, so the final results are 7 out of 11 points in total. So that means I am friends with Austin. Very nice. You and Austin are friends. You two could enjoy a long walk in the country and chat about all the things you have in common. Fantastic. I knew there was probably a little bit of Austin in me. It does come up quite often with discussions I have with my mother. I like period films, whereas my parents, they don't care. I probably do wonder where I get that from. Obviously, I must have a bit of Austin in me. So that was the Are You Like Jane Austen tag. I won't tag anyone in this video, but if you do like to take part in it, consider yourself tagged. Let me know down in the comments how you guys did. Tag me in your videos about this. I'd love to see what your guys' score was. But that is it from me for this video. I hope you really, really enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, give it the big thumbs up, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Bye!